Hello, and welcome to Fusion Writing, where building character meets creating structure. This is our map day of our writing week. And boy, do we have a terrific writing assignment ahead and a wonderful gathering planned for you for the weekend between Christmas and New Year's. So without further ado, Victoria, take it away.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. So, as you know, here we are at the writing week. Too often, I've learned from my younger writers especially, if you don't have a heading or a set story idea already formed, it can be difficult to understand, how do I go from this and my keyboard and all of this stuff? How do I get into the writing? How do I actually get that piece done? Well, let's break that down into a couple of bite-sized chunks that are actionable that you can use right now to start that writing draft. Because what I want to see over in Fusion Writing in LiLLiPub is I want to see you start posting some drafts. We're here for you. We're available to you. So use us as a resource while you have us, because these times won't last forever. So how do you get that piece done? Well, obviously, first of all, you're going to start with your note cards. Whether you're working from story cards or your experience collection, or maybe you're using observations or just ideas that you have, notes that you have, whatever that looks like. Those are just little tiny pieces of how you're building out the world of this story. Now, Kathleen is going to talk to you about the characters and how those fit into the writing process. So I'm going to leave those for her. But let's just talk about those bits of information that you need to draw from. So after your cards, I want you to think about what order do they go in. Now, you don't have to know the whole story. All you have to have are, for example, two cards. I have this idea and I have this idea. The only decision that you have to make to start writing is which one comes first. If my character needs to do this event or this action, this item, then this is going to happen, okay? This is a scene, this is a sequel, so this one has to come first. So that's the idea you're going to start with. So what are you going to do with it? Let's start very simply, especially for those of you that like to tell me that you have writer's block. You know I don't believe in that. Here's the answer. Rather than focusing on being blocked or stuck, just focus on one sentence. That's it, one sentence. From this event, this idea, this scene, this feeling, whatever it is that you're writing from that you've jotted out on this card, just write a sentence. Mandy woke up this morning and that thing that happened yesterday was really bothering her. She couldn't let it go. So all you've done is you've given that character in your head a little bit of space. You've given her a place to breathe, a place to develop and grow. The next thing you're going to do, you guessed it, is you're going to give her something to do. Maybe she gets out of bed, she makes coffee, and she calls her friend, being brave to do so, to discuss this thing that happened with her friend. So now you've given her some action. You've built out a little bit of a mystery because your reader is wondering, what is this about? What's going to happen? And you've introduced a second character because she's called her friend to ask for advice. So it really is that simple. All you're doing is establishing in your note, from wherever that comes, whether it's out of your plot box, it's out of your story cards, a random jotting from a napkin in a restaurant, wherever your idea came from, put it in a sentence, and then give that sentence some action. And then we know from our past modules what happens next. Well, if you give them an action, it has to have a reaction. Or if you write a bit of a scene, that scene has a consequence. It has a sequel. So once you have 3, 5, or 10 sentences strung together about what this looks like, then you're going to ask yourself, what's the natural sequel? If she woke up worried or concerned or thinking about this event or this thing, and she talked with her friend, maybe the sequel is her friend says, you know what, sister, we need to meet for coffee and talk this out. Now you've got her leaving. She's going to another place. So you're introducing a new setting. And then you're going to write a new scene about the two of them chewing on whatever this thought, this thing, this event was. See how that works? It's really simple. It's just step by step by step, walking that character through a sequence of events and actions. Now, here's the cool thing. This is where it gets really fun. What if you get them over to the cafe and they have this conversation between them and it doesn't feel right. The dialogue isn't flowing. The relationship doesn't seem to be revealing itself. It just feels flat or weird. Okay, you know what you're going to do? You're going to scratch that. Let's go back to the phone conversation at the apartment where her friend says, we need to talk about this. Let's meet at the cafe. And she says, I just don't feel like it. I think I'm just going to go do some reading and see if I can work this out. But thank you. See what I've done there? Rather than being proactive and running over to the cafe to talk it out, she backs away from the challenge. Sticking your head in the sand, anyone? She stepped away from this call to adventure. So then you're going to explore that road. What if instead she holes up in her apartment for the entire day, goes down an internet search rabbit hole, starts researching in books, and goes through a process of discovery? You're developing the story in an entirely different direction, and both can coexist. All you're doing is using those simple sentences, sequences, and sequels on the page to work out what's going to happen. It really is that simple. You just have to start putting it onto the page. And then you can ask your writer's brain, which one works? If she goes this way or if she goes that way. One of them is going to feel right. Trust me when I say your writer brain will know which one is right. And then you just keep going down that road until you get to the next fork. And then you do it over again. And then you do it over again. And pretty soon you have a whole chapter written. And that's where you connect those chapters together into your story. So that, my friends, is my challenge to you for this writing week. Take a random note, take a story card, experience collection card, whatever, get it down in a sentence, and then give that sentence something to do. And then build on it until you get to a point where you start making those decisions about whether or not it's working. That is your homework assignment. Get it on the page and then see where it takes you. Because you never know. We all have talked about how characters do crazy things. Sometimes they surprise you. Maybe she gets up in the middle of her research and takes a walk down the street. Didn't see that coming, but you're going to go with her and you're going to keep writing your story. So that is it for today, guys. Get it onto the page in a sentence and see where those characters take you, because I promise they'll take you somewhere if you follow along and trust the process. With that, I'm going to throw it back over to Kathleen to take us home for the rest of the map.
Okay, Victoria, thank you so much. And boy, am I ready to start putting that first sentence down and see where it takes me. Well, we're going to be talking about some sentences too here, and they could all be very good first sentences or transition sentences to other parts of the story, because we're going to talk about how do you let your reader understand the character that you have created in your mind, specifically the character traits that define the decision processes or the lack thereof that are taking place with your character. So let's take an instance of a simple character. We'll make, say, a teenage boy, maybe his early teens, 13, 14, somewhere in that type of an age, where we can all imagine, because we've all either, if we're boys, we've been there, or we've had brothers or cousins or sons, and we know what boys are like. So let's take a simple character trait and let's take courtesy. Well, we know what courtesy is. Courtesy is just being polite to all of the people that we meet and we see in our environment, recognizing that they're human beings. We may not know them, but they're deserving of a certain level of pleasant treatment, a smile, holding a door, just because they're human beings. And for that worth alone, they're deserving of that level of treatment. Well, then we'd have our 14-year-old boy. Well, our 14-year-old boy is deep inside of his own head. His body's changing, his world's changing. He's in junior high now instead of middle school, and he's uncomfortable, and he's wondering whether his buddies really like him, and that girl that he likes doesn't even look at him. And his brain is so full of stuff that unless the person is someone that he knows really well, they could be part of the scenery. He doesn't even notice them. I mean, are they trees? Are they cars? What are they? Oh, people. He doesn't have any conception because his mind is so full of himself, his immediate family, his immediate friendships, and the love of his life that he sees from afar. And therefore, he's not even capable of treating the others with courtesy, not because he's unkind, not because he's a villain in training, but because it's in the wing position for him. It's floating out there. He doesn't even notice that other people are even existing. So how do you show that? It's pretty simple now to pick a location. Because this is an empathy trait, courtesy, it involves an interaction with another person. You have to put your character into a situation where he's with another character. He's not going to treat that character with courtesy because that's what we're showing is in the wing position. But we also have a little bit of a challenge now because we have to both let our reader know that there's another person present in the story without elevating that person to such a high level that it's in his immediate attention and he would see him and would react appropriately, that person has to be one of these background characters that he can just kind of not really see. So that becomes our challenge. But the beautiful thing about writing with challenges is that it's not the challenges that make writing hard, it's the not knowing what to tackle that makes writing hard. If I stopped, said, okay, pause the video right now and think of a scene, think of a person that fits that bill, and think of your character. So many ways and places you could put him. He could be stopping at the convenience store for a snack on the way home. He could be getting on the bus. He could be in a school setting, although he's likely to know the school people a little bit more closely. So you probably want to put him in a setting where he's among strangers. You can do that. And then you simply have to let him just be his normal self. And you want to just casually mention that as he goes flying out the door of the convenience store with his jumbo soda in hand, you could just say, letting loose the door, which nearly knocks over the elderly gentleman who came to buy his newspaper. And now you know that this character has courtesy in the wing position. Okay, now let's give him another trait to round him out. Let's say that he is very, very loyal to his family. He's got a great family, great siblings, great brothers and sisters, and he values his family very much. And he's starting to meet some kids at school that maybe aren't the best crowd for him to get involved in. And so they do not come from the best of families, and suddenly they're putting down their families. Now, what's going to happen? Well, he's got loyalty in the anchor position. So he's not going to be sitting there debating, gee, I wonder if I should defend my family or not. Gee, will these guys like me? Will they still like me if I defend? No, that would be if it was in the rudder position. You could put it in the rudder position too, and that's how you do it. You'd show him having this internal fight with himself, whether or not he ought to be loyal to his family. But we've said that loyalty is going to be in the base position. So he's going to blurt something out without thinking. What do you mean? My brother is a terrific baseball player. What do you mean? That's rude. And he just blurts it out and then goes, oh, I know, I was wanting to get to know these guys and now they're going to hate me. You see, that has to come afterwards because it's in the anchor position, so he just comes out with his loyalty. And then when they give him some negative feedback like, ooh-dee-doo-dee-dee-you, ha-ha, then he gets to decide. Now you got to give him something that's in the rudder position, not loyalty, but he has to decide about sincerity. Is he going to present himself sincerely to these guys the way he really is, even though it's probably going to cost him this friendship? Or is he going to wait and say, wait a minute, if I have to fake out who I am, why would I want to be friends with these guys? So you see, it's really, you can set the scene any location you want. You can put the characters around anywhere you want, and you can set the position of the character trait anywhere you want. And it's actually the making of those choices that makes your scene easy to write, because you have to fill in all of these blanks. And that means you're not dealing with a blank piece of paper. You're dealing with a piece of paper. I've got to show this, and I got to show this, and I've got to show this. Then you can slap down some words, not even a whole sentence, that hints at this, hints at this, hints at this, and then you can start working with it and gluing them together and make a complete flowing sentence out of it. Okay, now you've got this is where he is. Where are you going to take him? And your story, you're going to have a plot, but as your plot develops, and well, of course, we'll let Victoria take care of all of those plot points for you, but as your character goes through the story, he's going to transform, especially if he's a 14-year-old boy. He's going to grow and mature in this process. So maybe you're going to give him an experience where he's going to come face to face with the fact that he's been discourteous. So then you have to think about, well, how are you going to pop courtesy from the wing position down to the anchor, to the rudder position, where he can come face to face with the fact that he's been discourteous? Well, the answer is, and this is a secret, this is a top secret, so don't you forget it. This is a big writing tip. Write it down. Take a look at what you put in the rudder position. That's the secret for moving the ring to the rudder. What you have in the rudder position right now, which was sincerity, where he was debating whether or not he wanted to show himself as he really was, when you let sincerity come down into the anchor position, then courtesy will come automatically down into the rudder position. If you think about it, sincerity is, who am I? I have to stand firm to who I am. I am this person. Oh, they are a person too. These people that I don't know, they're people. And that's a huge realization. And it comes about because he's coming to the realization that he has to be true to who he is, which lets him recognize that they are also human beings. And it comes out of the anchor position into the rudder, where he can now say, oh, let me get that door for you, Mr. Johnson. I see you have a cup of coffee and your newspaper today. So play with these character traits and watch how his character will transform across the plot points of your story. So although your story element is going to be the story that you need to tell, your character is also evolving. And when you show that evolution, you're showing character growth, and you're showing your character as a living being, which will give a lot of added satisfaction for your story. Victoria, how would you like to sum us up?
Holy moly. I feel like I should do a happy dance or something. Guys, I am not exaggerating when I say, number one, that has to be the best breakdown of how to use the character traits in order to build a character arc that complements the plot of your story that I have ever heard. Absolutely excellent. If you haven't explored already using the character traits and how they can help you build out your characters, you just got to do it. Don't wait. Start playing with it. Let your writer's brain chew on how to use each of those positions to build out believable, sympathetic characters that people root for. You got to do it. You just got to give it a try, because it will bring so much richness to your story and to the process of writing. For those of us that like to really dig into the process, playing with the character traits, there's nothing like it. It really takes you deep into those people so that you really get to know them, so that you can write them like a pro. I'm telling you, don't wait, go do it. And secondly, just like Kathleen said, start thinking about how those two levels of writing, developing your characters using the traits and developing your story using writing scenes and sequels, can dovetail and ultimately weave together to build an amazing story that your readers won't be able to put down. At the end of the day, that's why we're here. We're here to write stories that we've always wanted to read and to share those great stories with the people that are reading our stuff. So do the homework, don't hesitate, dive deep, and then come over to LiLLiPub.org and share with us what you've created. Even if it's just high-level notes or ideas, we would love to workshop those with you and help you get your story on the page so that we can read it. So I wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and hopefully we will see you over in LiLLiPub, where we can workshop some of this fun stuff with you.
Yep. LiLLiPub.org. It's where we gather every Saturday to workshop our writing. It's a golden opportunity. We're a friendly group. We'll help you without stomping on your feelings. We are a very caring group, and you will grow as a writer if you come on over to LiLLiPub.org. If you can afford a premium coffee twice a month, you can afford a LiLLiPub membership. It's really nominally priced, and the value is just absolutely insane. So we'll see you over there the week between Christmas and New Year's. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's. See you in between at LiLLiPub. Bye-bye.
Yeah.